Hello and welcome to Prairie Pulse. Coming up later in the show, we'll profile the North Dakota Veterans Home in Lisbon. But first, Matt Olien had a chance to sit down with North Dakota film producer and writer Dan Belinsky.
And my guest today is Dan Belinsky, North Dakota film producer and writer. Thanks for being on the show, Dan. Appreciate it. Before we get into the film we're here to talk about, tell folks a bit about yourself, your background, where you're from originally.
Sure. So I was raised in Wisconsin. I spent the first part of my life there. I went to school in Florida for college, and then I went to New York. I got my master's in acting from Columbia University in New York City, and then lived out there a few years with my wife. We started having babies, and then I was offered a job by the University of Mary to direct the theater program in Bismarck. And so we moved there in 2015, and we've been there since.
Well, we're here to talk about The Badlands Girl, and there's not a lot of movie making in North Dakota. We'll get to that in a few minutes as well, but tell us about the film and what your involvement in it was.
Sure. So The Badlands Girl is a period Western film, and I wrote it, I started writing in December of 2016, and we shot it in fall of 2017. And it revolves around a frontierswoman, Maggie, who's caught in a love triangle between her rancher neighbor, William, and her cowboy, old flame, Jacob. And a gang of outlaws descends on the ranch, and she has to make her decision and face some secrets from her past. So we shot it in fall of 2017 at the logging camp ranch in the Badlands. And the project itself was meant to be a kind of love song to the Badlands. There's never been a period Western film made in North Dakota, and the scenery out there is just gorgeous, and I thought begging for a period Western film. So it was meant to capture the beauty of the Badlands, and also to pay tribute to the heavy presence of Western culture in North Dakota. We got to know a lot of ranchers out in the Badlands through the process of this.
Now, you and I know, because I've been involved in filmmaking and I do film reviews, shooting a period film is tricky, especially when you don't have a huge budget. So why did you go the Western route? You kind of explained that, but just talk about the challenges of shooting a period film.
Yeah, I mean, it's challenging, especially in terms of the art direction and the costume design and the firearms and all those different aspects. But we were lucky to have some really talented people on board. And that's also the benefit of shooting a Western in North Dakota, because as I said, there's so much Western culture here already. We shot at the logging camp ranch, and John and Jennifer have period-looking cabins out there. I had to take the tin roof off of one of them and make some tweaks to the indoor takeout, like the refrigerator that they had in there. And plaster up the window and make some tweaks, but there was a lot going for it already there. And then I made friends with the ranchers out there, and they had plenty of set dressing that we were able to borrow. On top of that, getting costume designers who were really talented and good at what they do, and a production designer that we flew in who was really fantastic. And because it was a short film, 18 minutes, and we kept it fairly confined to that one location, the cabin, and using the outdoors. Other than that, it was doable.
Where'd you find your crew, and what kind of cameras did you shoot this on?
We shot it on the Red Weapon in anamorphic. The crew came from New York and Los Angeles and Minneapolis, and then professionals from here in North Dakota. And it was also an opportunity for my students at the university to get a chance to be on set and be mentored by these industry professionals. We had anywhere from 30 to 40 people on set, depending on the day, during production. And then we did post-production in New York as well.
Were these people you'd met in the film industry or in your college days that you brought in from out of state?
Some of them I got to know from my time in New York. Others, I had seen their work and I reached out to them. I had a producer in Los Angeles who I knew from college, and he was a valuable part of the networking process. I had done a feature in Minneapolis. I got to know some people through that. So it was we pulled from a variety of sources.
As you and I know, casting actors and actresses is crucial to a film. The right person, the right look, the right style. Where did you find them? Tell me about that process.
Sure. We cast the lead roles of Jacob and Maggie out of New York. I had seen Erin, who plays Maggie, the lead character. I had seen her on a TV show called Gypsy, starring Naomi Watts, and she's a fantastic actress. And then Kyle Vincent Terry, he was recommended to me by a friend. He's out in New York as well. I played a role in the movie, and then the role of the black hat bad guy was played by Mike McNeil, who lives in Bismarck. He was in the first film that I made in North Dakota, The Good Father. He was in that, and he's a really talented guy. And then the posse that we put together for the film was actually ranchers who lived in the Badlands. They were riding their own horses, and we gave them costumes and dirtied them up a little bit. And they looked amazing. They looked just as good as any Hollywood stuntman.
It has to be authentic looking, right?
Oh yeah. They were definitely authentic.
Challenges of shooting a film in North Dakota. We know there is really no film commission, no film office, no tax breaks. Can you talk about that and kind of overcoming those challenges, and maybe just your thoughts on that, of how maybe North Dakota could support filmmaking a bit more?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I went into the Badlands Girl. I raised the money for the Badlands Girl through the generosity of many, many people around the state of North Dakota, from individuals and businesses who were really interested in seeing, an exciting film that showcased the Badlands and showcased Western culture in North Dakota. So there was a lot of people who were really interested in the project, and it's true that there's very little professional narrative filmmaking in North Dakota that's homegrown, but and that has its disadvantages for sure, but it also has some advantages in that people are interested in what you're doing, whereas when you're making a film in New York and Los Angeles, you and your aunt and your cousin and your neighbor are making a film too, so so nobody's interested in the fact that you're making a movie. And I tried to make that a big part of the project too. We're doing something new and something exciting here in North Dakota. Mr. Burgum came to see the premiere of the film at the Grand Theater, and we've stayed in touch, and he's very supportive, and I've enjoyed getting to know him. He's a big fan of the arts, I know. As far as like what the legislature, what the government can do, I haven't focused on that so much. I'm really just trying to focus on the craft of filmmaking. And I know that there are people who are out there to support. In terms of growing the market and increasing the infrastructure, hopefully that's something that'll happen down the line to bring other productions in. But I think for now we can continue to do good work where we are.
As long as you have good people and good equipment, things like that.
Absolutely.
You shot it in 5 days. I know it's not a feature, it's a shorter film, but challenges of doing that. Why a 5-day shoot?
Yeah, well, every day costs money. And so we wanted to keep it as tight as we possibly could. We shot 12-hour days. I slept for probably 3 hours every night. It was miserable.
But you have young kids, you're used to that, right?
Well, yeah, I suppose it's a different sort of different sort of sleep deprivation. So yeah, it was challenging, but it was also, I mean, it's part of the thrill of doing it too. No matter what scale you're working at, it's stressful, and you're always short on money and
You're
you're
in
always
charge
short
and-
on time. Yeah, I mean, and I've been on the sets of feature films as an actor, and very low budget short films, and some TV stuff, and everybody's always scrambling. It's always a scramble. It's always hard. And so I didn't see our 5-day shooting period as something that was insurmountable, but something that was, part of the adventure, And it wouldn't have been the same film if we had had a week to do it or more money. But it turned out to be, the film I think that we set out to make.
Most people don't see short films. I do because I serve on the Fargo Film Festival committee and things like that. But talk about how you market a short film and what's the end game for a short film? I know the festival circuit is very important, but just tell me about any kind of distribution or streaming or festival things, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So in the end, short films can end up on Amazon or iTunes. You can go that route for distribution. And everybody has their own plan for a short film. Short films are, in general, kind of art pieces or else proofs of concept for a feature film. And we went into The Badlands Girl with the intention of not only making a film that does stand on its own 2 feet and for the sake of making, a beautiful film for the sake of itself, but also as a proof of concept for a feature film, which I'm working on now and which we're planning to shoot in summer of 2019.
Will that be shot here as well?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, in the Badlands. Yes, so in terms of the life of the film, we're going to begin the festival circuit soon, and we'll probably let it run for a year or so on the festival circuit, and then we'll have some kind of online distribution, whether that's through Amazon or iTunes or short of the week. We'll find some way to get it out.
Tell me about some of your acting that you've done on HBO and things like that. You mentioned The Good Father, which was another film you did. Just tell me a little bit about your career.
Sure.
Where people may have seen you.
I got my MFA in acting from Columbia University, and I worked out there as an actor. I did mostly stage when I was in New York, but I did some short films and a feature, and I had a co-star role on the HBO show The Leftovers, just a brief role. Since moving to North Dakota, I started writing and producing my own stuff. I've done some work in Minneapolis as well, since I moved here, since that's the closest, largest market. The films that we've done since I've moved here has been The Good Father. We shot that in Bismarck in 2015. We shot a romantic comedy called You Beautiful Crazy Blind Cripple in New Salem, North Dakota in 2016. And then The Badlands Girl in fall of 2017.
Tell me about the theater program at the University of Mary and what you do there and some of the productions you guys are involved in.
Sure. I direct the theater program at the university. It's exciting because there wasn't an official theater program before I moved here, so it's been fun building up the program and getting to work with students with young blood. No, it's been a very rewarding process. We're at a theater we have a theater minor right now, and we'll grow into a major hopefully soon. We just finished a production of Joan of Arc, yeah, it's going real well.
What's it like working with young actors and actresses? It must be fun to see them grow and blossom.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting because I hadn't planned on teaching. The university reached out to me to interview for the position, and I came out to North Dakota a little skeptical, I think, but when I got here, it just felt like home. It felt like a really beautiful place to work and to live, a good place for a family, and a good place to work at the university. And teaching the students has been great for me, I think, as a person and also as an actor. You know, it's a way to constantly be doing the work that I love, you know, and helping others discover themselves and discover their talents as actors. And it's what's beautiful about it is that it's a constant, unique challenge, because everybody has their own hang-ups, everybody has their own difficulties. I'm not mass teaching what acting is, but really it's a very personal process for every single one of them. And that keeps it fun and ever new.
Can you tell me about the feature film you're working on? What's that going to be about?
So the feature film, it will be based loosely on The Badlands Girl, which we meant to be a proof of concept for this. So that's like taking the feature film, which I always had in mind, and sort of distilling it down to a short film. So as we expand that to the feature-length version, we'll get to know more of the characters, and we'll get to see Maggie and William go on more of a journey together. We obviously parts of the story change and develop in new directions, but it should still be an exciting period Western film that captures the beauty of the Badlands and has excitement and romance and humor and everything we want to expect from a Western.
Same actors again?
It's up in the air right
Okay.
now. We still have a lot of things to nail down at this point.
We'll see where that goes.
Yeah.
Finally, if people want to see the film, is it on any platform right now? Maybe you can give us your website, that kind of thing. Just kind of tell us where it is right now and maybe your website.
Yeah, so right now we're keeping it under wraps. We're going to start the festival circuit, and we can't have the film out there yet.
Right.
But people can go to our website, badlandsgirlmovie.com, to keep up to date on information, and they can watch the trailer for the movie. Probably within the next year, we'll have some kind of distribution, and people will be able to know that through Facebook and through the website.
Okay. Dan, thanks for being here.
you,
Appreciate
Matt.
it. Dan Belinsky is my guest. And now let's take a look at a clip from The Badlands Girl.
Established in the 1890s, the North Dakota Veterans Home is North Dakota's best kept secret. Incorporating a unique pod concept, it's the only veterans home in the country with this design. The building is the home for many North Dakota veterans, but it's the tremendous staff that makes it feel like home.
Welcome to the North Dakota Veterans Home. You know, we get calls every day saying I never knew about the North Dakota Veterans Home.
This is North Dakota's best kept secret.
We are on the 90-acre campus of the North Dakota Veterans Home in Lisbon. This campus is beautiful. It's full of trees and flowers and lots of memorials marking veteran service.
Back in the 1890s, the city of Lisbon had the opportunity to become either the Valley City State College or the North Dakota Veterans Home. And they chose to be the North Dakota Veterans Home, which they called at that time the Soldiers' Home. The first building that was built was in 1893. And then shortly after that, they built a hospital here on the campus. Well, they lived in the hospital up until the 30s. I think they had like about 26 beds. In 1950, they built so that we could have 150. There was additional buildings that were built in 1980. They then actually brought a nursing home on. There has been a VA mandate that wanted to look at the household neighborhood concept. Our building is the only building in the country that's built like this. Because of just the nature of everything in North Dakota, we decided to actually build it in the pod concept.
We have 2 basic care pods and we have 1 nursing home pod.
The pods themselves hold approximately 50 to 52 residents.
We have 2 pods for basic care named B and C, and we have 4 households within a pod. There are 4 households in the B pod and 4 households in the C pod.
And the households are anywhere from 10 to 13 people.
And every house consists of a living room, dining room, kitchen area, a little office area with a computer, and then individualized rooms. Every resident here has their own room.
This room is home to a resident. When a resident moves in, we want them to feel at home.
The staff told me I got too much junk, but I made it home. And that's the thing, you can make it your home.
But each house is uniquely different, and I think to me that's what makes it special and unique.
You can be as friendly or as aloof as you want.
There will be one house you walk in and they have all their tables pushed together and they all eat together. There's another house where all the tables in the dining room are separate and nobody really eats together.
This is the main street of the North Dakota Veterans Home, and we have this area. So during the winter months, our residents don't necessarily need to go downtown to Lisbon. We have a bank and a library, and we have a barber and beauty shop here as well. So a lot of their business can be done inside of the building.
This is a beautiful building, but that is not the selling point of this. The selling point comes in the staff. You just watch any of them and there's always that smile.
Good for you.
They care for us. I don't mean you simply taking care of us. They care for us.
Is your daughter gonna come?
Yeah. What you would think about when you look at your own home, what makes your home your home. It's not necessarily the things, it's the people, and it's the feeling.
Should we read one of the stories in the paper today? It was
Part of
Wednesday,
that, probably the
church
most
night,
important
and they
part,
were always in charge of
besides the residents that live here being the most important, was the staffing. The CNA staff are called resident living specialists, so they're universal workers. RLSs are trained to be CNAs, dietary, so cooks, housekeeping, and activities. And so I would kind of compare the RLS staff to like a mom or a dad, in that they do it all. We have a waiting list for our nursing home, but not for our basic care. Our basic care, we have openings.
Veterans are eligible. Veterans that entered the military in North Dakota, or spouses or surviving spouses of veterans, and also veterans that served in a North Dakota regiment. We've had some veterans that have moved here from other states, and as long as they get a 30-day residency in the state of North Dakota, they would be eligible to apply at the Veterans Home. We understand it's a hard process. It's not easy leaving home and downsizing and moving away from family in some cases. So we're here as a support system too, as that transition takes place. The service organizations of North Dakota, for example, the AMVETS, the Vietnam Veterans of America, the VFW, the Legion, they have been so great in supporting us They give us money for activities. We have 2 new rooms that we have been looking forward to for a long time. We have a wood shop and art studio. And the kids come, they make the residents' days brighter. They ask them how they are. They say thank you for your service. We're so grateful for the fellow North Dakotans that support the Veterans Home.
When they passed the legislation to build the new Veterans Home, what the state and what the legislature did is a true tribute to our veterans. And we are here for them in every way.
Well, that's all we have on Prairie Pulse for this week. But as always, thanks for watching.
Funding provided by the members of Prairie Public.